My name is Michael Lerman. I'm the co-director of the Overlook Film Festival and co-founder.
My name is Landon Zakheim. I am also, surprisingly enough, the co-founder and co-director of the Overlook Film Festival.
Spoiler alert.
We've been working on this festival in various forms for a number of years at this point. We began with an incarnation in Colorado that we worked on for 3 years, and then when we decided to start the Overlook in its current form, we went searching for venues. We were able to do a really exciting edition of it last year in Oregon. Quickly realized that that was not going to be a long-term solution for the growth of this festival, and started thinking about other options, and that eventually led us to a haunted city, New Orleans.
I feel like I can't remember a time when I was not working on the Overlook Film Festival.
Oh, can I? I'm going to change my answer to that answer.
Yeah. I mean, we love the city. We love the city before we even ever thought of doing something here. So it's just great to marry the two things.
Part of the real joy of bringing the festival to New Orleans is rediscovering New Orleans, being able to see all of the venues, the haunted history of the place, the additional extra history of it. New Orleans is an incredibly organic city. It's rich with lore. The spooky elements, of course, make it very attractive for a number of reasons, and also the growth potential of the festival. But more than that, it's just, I think, the most exciting city in America in terms of places to come and visit or stay. I'm looking into apartments right now. That's not even a joke.
You sure you want to put that on record?
Yeah, I'm moving here. I'm telling you.
For all your no-pro stalkers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm not moving here. No, yeah.
That's just an immersive clue.
Obviously, the Overlook Film Festival is a 4-day celebration of all things horror. Michael and myself and a number of our festival staff all program for many other organizations and festivals. The idea of doing this festival is worth our time because we can add a number of our own extra interests that excite us personally. We are both big fans of immersive and interactive entertainment, storytelling in other forms outside of the film medium, and this festival provides us a canvas and an opportunity to do that. We don't believe there's a point in having another film festival on our plates unless we can bring that to the table. We also believe, like many filmmakers and storytellers do, that if you have something you're very passionate about that you can bring out into the world, it will find an audience and other people will discover that as well. So we take great pleasure in curating and commissioning and establishing works here that not just already established immersive fans can find, but new audiences can attract to as well that are coming for the films. So it becomes a real pleasure for us. We take on feedback very graciously. We're always looking for feedback. We're very interested in learning how to make the festival better constantly. During the festival, we like to, we're re-examining, there's issues that come up in every type of way. That's what a film festival is. And we address as needed. And then afterwards, we like to do very extensive feedback sessions internally, externally, and then find out what we can add, what we can tweak, what we can change. The whole idea behind this festival is to keep growing it and changing it and putting new and exciting things and adding to it, so that there's sort of a circus of attractions for fans of all kinds of horror, but especially interactive and immersive.
The simple answer is this: we can't see past 10 o'clock tonight, let alone, I've been getting a lot of questions of, are you going to stay here? And it's like, I have no idea. And I'm going to stay here for the next 6 hours.
But to your point, to your point, I mean, look, there are shows and experiences and performances that we have been working on that are planned for the next festival, that are planned for 2 festivals from now. Anything can happen in that time frame. But I mean, there's a number of shows that didn't find their way into this festival that we are already working on plans for the future. That's just sort of the nature of how this festival works.
That said, I think that the nature of the medium itself is still sort of in its infancy. And so anytime anything's in its infancy, it goes through a lot of growing very quickly. It's like when you see a baby every 6 months, it looks completely different, right? So there are things that we intend to do and people we want to work with and all sorts of things, but like I don't know what the immersive landscape is going to look like in 9 months. I don't know what it's going to look like in 16 months, and we're obviously going to want to do cool things, and if we see people doing cool things, we'll want to bring them into the fold. That's been kind of the pleasure of doing this, is like when you're a festival programmer anyway, just with film, you find things you love and then you share them with other people. And so here we have an opportunity to do that in an immersive space, but also collaborate, because people shift things around us, they'll build things for us, all those things, it's not for us, but for the audience here. And so being able to collaborate with people we respect and are trying different things is kind of the pleasure of doing something where it's like a celebration of all things horror.
We always ask, we always say to artists who are interested in this festival to come check it out, look at it, then tell us how we can do it better, and then we can start a conversation there. Because it's like, it's so easy to come and see what we're already doing and see where a hole is, or see where their idea can fit, or see how something they originally thought would be perfect for this festival might actually need to be rearranged before we can start discussing it. But we only can really program shows or interactions that we experience or see. So it also helps give us an excuse to go around and see a lot of people's work.
I think that you come for the whole package, right? Like I think that you are interested in I think the immersive is obviously catchy, especially for film people that haven't tried it out, and we can be like a gateway drug in that way. But I think that also you come to the festival for everything. You get to see some movies, and you get to play the game for a little while, and you get to go and do things like in another room, which it's literally just a 15-minute piece, but it's like an experience. It's like a great short film, and so it's all of those things combined. And then obviously also now we're in New Orleans, so it's like you can eat at all these great places, and you can walk along the water and join a second line, and then also go and do it in another room. You know what I mean? So.
I think we are experiencing a transition. The easiest way to see that is the festival moving from its original concept as a rural summer camp for horror fans into a very thriving city. Also, our audiences, we take pride in our film programming, and a majority of our audience does come for those films, to see those filmmakers, to see people like Roger Corman, who we've awarded in the past, to see Lee Winnell, to see our close night film Hereditary, and other such filmmakers who are in town. But there are people who come just for the immersive experiences, who don't often find themselves into films, and both audiences are trying to learn how to cross over, and so there is a transition that is going to be affecting the future of this festival that we'll be addressing. I think that this festival exists so that weirdos can feel at home, among many other reasons.
I know, pro.
But again, I think everybody who works on this festival is very passionate about it, and it's a labor of love for us. So, because these experiences are all very important to us, and so we do think it's important to have a little weirdness around. We like to embrace the strange, the unusual. That's kind of the whole purpose of this festival. It permeates into the films we play. There is an atmospheric aspect to it. But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. There's experiences that are for some people, and hopefully other people can simply enjoy having a good time at a old haunted mansion celebrating an incredible film. I think we're gonna see, kind of to your point about transition, I think we're gonna see sort of how those experiences dovetail as we kind of look back and examine the festival and what we can do with it in the future. To be perfectly honest, I had to miss that scene because I had a Q&A for another film at a theater, so I only heard about the strangeness. We were very lucky in that we were able to curate a number of immersive experiences at the festival this year, such as
Blackout.
Blackout are kind of, they feel like the part of the originators of the history of what we call modern immersive, and they are one of the original contemporary horror experiences. Beyond that, as artists, even though what they do is very extreme and can be for a very niche audience, what they do with such level of artistry and storytelling that we believe there is a place for them to be heralded as part of a curated program, which is essentially what an official selection is at any given type of festival. It is an experience we do only offer for a limited number of people, and of course are very clear that it is as an extreme experience it needs a waiver, but there are people who come just for them, and we're very lucky that we were able to world premiere a show with them after having had a really tremendous working experience with them last year. There had been internal discussions for a while about whether or not we were interested in having an extreme experience at the festival, and so we had extensive conversations with them and really learned their working style and came to believe and trust them as artists. And so we're very excited to be able to have them for a limited amount of shows for an audience that really craves and are curious for what they do. Again, we also believe just like showing a midnight movie is very different from showing kind of a slower burn or more elegant crafted horror movie, there is room for the extreme in a horror film festival. In another room is a show we were very excited to program for a number of reasons. From a curatorial standpoint, we were really excited about the idea of essentially being able to do an excerpt of an anthology, right? This is a standalone part of a larger feature-length show that we saw in Los Angeles last summer. It was a really wonderful show. I know No Proscenium happened to be big fans of it as well. We saw the show, were really blown away, realized immediately, wait a minute, there's a lot of actors, this is a big house, there's a lot of moving parts here. It is really a shame we can't show this show. But as Michael alluded to earlier, as this festival is evolving, we have to get creative in how we plan the festival too. And it became apparent that this one sequence, which was an incredible sequence, also worked as a standalone, and that we might as well give them the opportunity to say no if we invited just a piece of it. And luckily they had heard of the festival, they were big fans of it, felt like it was a good idea, and thought that it worked as well. And so we all got really excited about working together. It fits all the elements. It's horror, it can be done in a room, which means we can do it in a hotel room, and we really like doing that as part of the festival. And it's something that it doesn't require extreme participation, but it's also an excellent gateway into immersive, and it really envelops you into the world, and it hits on a kind of supernatural element that we really value here. And we've been very lucky in that it's been a real standout experience this year. It's really moved a lot of people. We think it's really a great example of what the future of this kind of storytelling can be in its simplest form. Infinitely Dinner Society, Midnight Snacks, presenting Bananas Foster, was a show that's
Annie Lesser.
By Annie Lesser, is a show that's real fun to have at the festival this year. Annie Lesser is an artist we have become familiar with. We had her piece, The Chalet, at the Overlook Film Festival last year, which was an adaptation of her show Apartment 8, the first in her series, The ABC Project. Apartment 8 was probably considered one of the most exciting things from an audience standpoint that we did at the festival last year. It really blew people away, and so we really wanted to find a way to work with Annie again. As a festival, the same way we're not going to show the same film of the following year, we can't simply remount a show because it was beloved the first year. But luckily, Annie has this side project, Infinitely Dinner Society, the midnight snacks aspect of it. We've gone through the show and saw that it can kind of leans into the mysterious and the absurd, and there's a horror-esque element to it, and of course it works with food. And as soon as we realized we were coming to New Orleans and we had the French Quarter and a very famous food city, and Annie again again, it seemed like a very natural fit to take homegrown food elements, the beauty and mystery of the French Quarter, and then kind of the wondrous strangeness of Annie's kind of infinitely dinner society fabrications, and marry it with the festival. And so we were really happy that she was willing to create a piece for us. The Pumpkin Pie Show one-on-one, the immersive adjacent show. The Pumpkin Pie Show has been part of the festival from the beginning in its earliest incarnations. Clay McLeod Chapman is an incredible storyteller. What he does is so unique to horror. He opens it up into a really incredible, wonderful universe. He takes twists on classics and makes them very accessible and contemporary, and can work with people of all ages. And he's very game for anything. We've had him do radio plays. We've had him work on all sorts of manner of storytelling for the festival. And of course, we presented his proscenium shows here. But a group I believe called Performateria last year, which was a New York immersive festival, had engaged him for some one-on-one versions of his show, which was the first time we thought of it in an immersive context. We tried it last year as a bonus, since he was already attending the festival, to see how it would work as an experiment. It seemed to go over incredibly well. People really responded to it, and so once we knew Clay was going to be performing again, it became a natural fit to get him to kind of do it in kind of a secret theater space of the festival. It is something that maybe for the immersive vanguard may feel a little tamer than what they're used to, but it's also an excellent starter for the vast majority of our attendees who are just still trying to dip their toes into the water of immersive, but may be a little too afraid of our more horrific offerings. So we really love being able to have that variety too. It's important for the program. I think anybody who is clicking on the No Proscenium site probably needs no introduction to Delusion. We have been gigantic fans of Delusion. We know John Braver has wanted to attend the festival for a very long time, and as soon as we found out that he was working on a VR piece with Skybound Entertainment, no less, we were chomping at the bit to look at it, and very luckily, he agreed to finish it in time to get it to us. We were able to see some of what he was working on, and it was an adaptation of our very favorite Delusion show, Lies Within, and of course we have a VR program, so when they said they would be able to world premiere it with us, we were overjoyed. It takes you through essentially the first floor of what was a 3-floor show, and this I think is a very important step forward in kind of the proliferation of immersive into the masses, and that a large-scale experience that only exists in one location can now have a window of it brought to you in a mobile setting to help introduce you, bring new fans into Delusion, show you different ways to experience Delusion, and entice you to go seek it out for the larger show as well. The idea of turning this show into kind of mixed media or bringing different forms of it is, I think, provides so many opportunities. It's obvious, like, to have John Braver and to have Delusion at our festival, that feels like really bringing in some of the big guns of incredible creators of the medium. Both Campfire Creepers, The Skull of Sam, which is directed by Alexandra Aja, and Night Night are both from Dark Corner Studios, who we've worked with for quite some time. They brought Catatonic, their wheelchair-bound insane asylum VR piece, to us a few years ago. We showed their coffin-based Mule last year. They are kind of doing some of the best, most exciting straight horror VR experiences. I like to think of them as the William Castle of horror, in that they're doing VR, but they're adding these real-life tactile experiences, which we're starting to see in mixed media and immersive VR-based shows, and they're bringing that to horror, and I think they do it better than anybody else. They are the horror VR companies. And we're so lucky that they have new stuff to show us every year. Ghost Stories Haunted Walking Tour, presented by IFC Midnight, is an excellent walking tour that is in no way immersive. It is.
Okay.
No, I think that was really.
I feel like it could be posted on NoPro though, like in a list of.
I mean, I would leave that up to the folks who did it. To be perfectly honest, it's. I mean, if we're gonna be in New Orleans, we're not gonna not do a haunted walking tour. And when we have a great partner like IFC Midnight and a movie that really fits from them called Ghost Stories, which is based on a play that also again features a number of ghost stories, it feels like a natural fit to marry them and make it a more theatrical haunted walking tour. I mean, embracing what New Orleans has to offer as a haunted history is obviously something that we should be doing.
I debated mentioning it, and then I started thinking through a GoPro newsletter and was like, well, this walking tour kind of fit, you know.
Masters of the Sun is a really rad, interactive horror zombie piece from will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas that kind of takes a really cool comic book approach to VR, and that's a little more interactive than a standard VR film, in that you are essentially turning the pages with your eyes in comic book form and letting the story unfold. So it's essentially like going through a comic book in VR that turns into an all-out zombie invasion with continuing chapters. Most of our VR experiences feel like they're chapters of what will be larger future stories. So I think it's really cool that we're seeing horror go not just from short films, but essentially to episodic already in the VR space. Yeah, that show is really dynamic, and I think it's playing with what you can call interactive in VR in really new ways. Wolves in the Walls, Chapter 1 is more than simply being interactive as a VR piece. It also has a connection to Third Rail Projects, which again is, I know, a gold standard to No Proscenium readers such as myself and Mike, who have gone to Then She Fell multiple times, seen Ghostlight, seen, why am I blanking on the name of the 70s one? Yes, The Grand Paradise. So having been to all of those and been big fans of them, just hearing that they were involved in any way in a VR was already exciting. Then finding out that was a Neil Gaiman adaptation, and also that it was involved by some of our favorite designers from Oculus, and then what they formed in their kind of new company, Fable Studios, that sort of took it over. We of course were chomping at the bit to see it, and we were so glad it lived up to the hype. Its use of motion and agency and point of view is, I think, a leap forward in how we're going to get more inclusive and interactive with following along VR stories. I think what's most exciting about this fact is that, again, as the first chapter, I think we're only going to see their techniques grow and grow as we get deeper and deeper into the story. But as a spooky tease and how it plays with who you are and how you discover everything in that sense of the world, its sense of play and exploration is extraordinary. The Overlook Immersive game is something that I guess is referred to as the signature event of the festival, in that it's something that this festival provides a platform for that we don't see at other film festivals. We love our immersive performances so much. We love the VR lounge, but that's something you can find elsewhere. It's meant to be a social kind of a social experiment, a puzzle hunt, a bit of escape rooms, a bit of immersive theater, all combined into one large weekend-long alternate reality experience. This year, our designers were Nick Tierce and Scott Gillies, who came to us from an incredible range of projects, including the now defunct Fourth Wall Studios, Disney Interactive, Google Niantic Labs, and who kind of had an idea for a New Orleans-themed event to welcome us into the city, and could also incorporate the fact that we were competing with a very large-scale city and no longer on the side of a mountain, and also work in kind of our growing, transitioning festival needs. It's something that we've had at the festival in some form or fashion since its very early years, and always found it to be a great way to be an icebreaker, instead of the same way we don't like to do traditional film panels. Instead of being at trying to essentially network at a party, you can be talking about clues you want to solve together and get to know each other, and you can bond with volunteers, industry, press, and all the other attendees of the festival, having a shared experience they can work on together. There are those who like to spend their entire festival experience playing. There are those who like to dip in and out, and we welcome anybody's participation in it however they want.
If you're watching this and you're not here, we expect you to be here next year.
Yes, the immersive program.
That's my parting thought.
The immersive program is only going to grow. One of the aspects that is most exciting about moving to New Orleans is having the room to finally execute a number of ideas that we have never been able to before. This year was very much an experiment in that. And now that we have established kind of our roots, if we are to continue it in New Orleans, there is going to be a lot of room for many more variations on the immersive program. And that is something that is going to keep us going all the way until we get to the next festival next year. The stuff we want to do next year, the year after that is really mind-blowing, and I cannot wait for people to experience it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That was excellent.
And I'll see you at the show.